Was there anything you can share with us, like as to why this pair was the one that you thought, okay, well, look, out of all the others, this one beats them out because of whatever reason?
I can give a very simplistic explanation on this. If you take a look at where this CAD yen was, here's just a very simplistic approach, okay? First things first is you have to notice the movement of the flow up. USD yen looks very powerful compared to the strength of CAD yen. All right, that's one thing being aware of. The second thing being aware of is how's the pullback coming in? Pullback comes in hot, pullback comes in hot. Both of them are just as aggressive. Recovery is slower on USD yen, recovery is faster on CAD yen. Then the hold or the bounce is minimal on CAD yen, and the hold and the bounce is a lot more aggressive on USD yen. This tells me the CAD yen's recovery is a lot stronger, is a lot more efficient. Now, another contender was...
All right, folks, here we are on Trading Nut. We've got a familiar face. In fact, he was one of the very first guests on Trading Nut. We've got Navin Prithyani in the house. Welcome back to the show for the third time.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me again.
Well, look, it's a pleasure to get you on. And what we're going to do, folks, today is dive into a mega trade that he's taken and really sort of find out about the psychology that's involved in taking and holding this kind of trade. It went 18R. He made over 160K, and he even made over 10K in swaps as well. So I'm going to leave Nevin to basically walk you through his trade, how he got in. I'm going to ask some questions along the way, and we're going to find out how you make up this kind of trade yourself. So let's share your screen and dive in.
Sure. Cam, not many podcasters ask for the host to go directly into the trade secrets.
Well, I'm kind of one of these unique podcasts where I actually do like seeing. I mean, people do tend to share a lot, and I mean, if you ask, sometimes you get lucky. So let's see what it's all about, eh?
Absolutely. No, I'm happy to share, especially for you guys.
Folks, if you're looking for a prop firm at the moment and you want someone who's been around for ages, flexible, reliable, and has low profit targets, then check out my sponsors, Blue Guardian. So these guys, I've been trading with them for the last 8 months. They've been sponsoring the show for about that amount of time, and they even have guys on my live stream trading them as well. So what I've found is their commission seems to be lower than some of the competitors out there. So really great trading environment, and they offer now C-Trader and some other fantastic trading platforms as well. If you want to check them out, there's a coupon code in the description, or just use it, Trading Nut, all one word, and get 10% off at checkout. There's a QR code you can grab here as well. All right, folks, let's get on with the show.
Okay, so this is a trade that I originally started 3 months ago on March 12th. It started around the pricing of 109.44, and to put that into perspective, I'm going to switch my screen sharing to the trading view just to show you how it looks. It's around this area is where I began the journey here. And it's here is where I start getting very, very aggressive in this spot here. And I took the journey all the way up to approximately 112, 113 was my initial target area. And we kept saying over and over again that this is just the beginning. A lot of my students took this trade with me, but they weren't able to maintain the stamina all the way through. They got in, they got out like 10 times, but they weren't able to maintain it for the big move, for the big run. This particular trade, I ran it for 62 standard lots, more or less. One of the beauties of this trade actually was we had positive swap for CAD and Japanese yen. The interest rate was 0, so I was getting close to 5% on this thing every single day that the swap was accumulating. So that added additional $13,000 to $15,000 at the end of the whole thing. But the trade itself, as we started to scale in and just really ramp up the size from that area where you can see this cluster here, is where I started getting very aggressive. So
what was sort of a genesis for you to go like, right, okay, I can see this setting up as a really good trade to get into, to start adding position or adding size, and what gave you what gave you confidence to add more size as you were entering that initial position?
Yeah, so this is something that we take very, very seriously at Urban Forex. Is the whole concept of, well, does an individual even know what he or she is doing when they're coming into the market, or are we just simply going for a strategy, right? So for example, if someone teaches me how to drive a car, I can study all that as much as I want, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, but where am I going? What's this for? What's the reason for this? Why am I studying this? I don't understand. So the whole concept of this is we do a lot of top-down analysis where we're trying to pinpoint where the trade is going to be coming from, what's going on. And the yens, if you notice, yens are the hottest thing for the last 2 or 3 months. And on the monthly chart, the yens they were showing signs of massive activity getting ready. Now, this is like a golden opportunity for a trader, any trader that actually looks at this. But you got to know what you're doing. We can't just come in here with indicators and trend lines and saying, okay, I'm going to make some money. You got to know what's the purpose. Why does the market move? What does the market need out of the public? What are we as the public? What is our role? Are we the victim? How are we the victim? And are we just, so everyone has this sort of way to look at the markets, and which is fine. But you have to understand why prices move, and that becomes the basis of everything. So if you look at the way things are going on the monthly chart since the early 2022, there is a cluster here that caught my attention right there. And as 2024 was getting ready here, notice the same cluster on USD yen. Okay? These things, they catch my attention very, very easily because it tells me the way the supply and demand is shaping up to it. As you can see here, there's clusters here on CAD yen, this particular area. And then you can also see a similar cluster on USD yen here forming up. Now, whenever I see these clusters, it basically tells me, look, the trend is up. We have a pullback coming in, and that pullback gets rejected very, very quickly, and they want to buy it again. And that grabs my attention. Now, this isn't something small. This is a monthly chart, which means if the monthly wants to buy and get going, any trade on a 1 hour, 15-minute, 5-minute, 1 minute that's looking to do a sell, they're going to be steamrolled. They're going to be killed, murdered, left for dead, bled out dry. Okay. And this is the type of opportunities we look for because we know that there's going to be a massive wave of steamrolling coming in. And this is like, oh, well, we don't need to do 20 trades a week this week or the next few months. We just ride one. We just need to ride one. So these opportunities, they come by once every several months. And this was one of the main things that caught my eye, especially on CAD yen. Did that sort of
Yeah,
make
so
sense of
it's
how it all started?
yeah, so it was kind of like you saw a cluster across all JPY pairs, and that was like they're already in an uptrend. They're basically consolidating. There's probably going to be a push up at some point, and it's
Yeah.
a once in a very I suppose rare occasion because you're on the monthly chart, and when the monthly chart does something, the rest of the time frames are going to follow. Yeah, in short,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right.
You put that together with the conflict and situations happening around the world. Okay. You put that together with the CAD being at 5% interest rate, Japanese yen being at 0% interest rate. When you put it's like the perfect storm
Yeah,
coming together. And when all of this stuff happens, it's like, okay, first you're going to have the heavy traders like myself going for the long side. You got the investors coming in for that 5% interest for swaps.
yeah,
You've got the people who are going after the oil moves that has everything all related to CAD coming in with the increase in war and all that stuff that's going on. So everything is just getting ready to push that CAD yen to the north like a rocket. And
right.
we want to position ourselves, and now that positioning becomes a little bit difficult because knowing what to do is half the battle. I would say knowing what to do is 90% of the battle. People like to argue with me on that, saying, no, how to trade is important. I'm like, okay, I can teach you how within 10 minutes. You're never going to make it. It's what should I trade is the golden key. If you don't know what to trade, you're dead. You're literally dead. There's no career. So
Right.
what to trade is the majority of it, and then now trying to grab it with the lowest amount of risk. Okay, because our job is obviously risk control, right? Like, if we know
Mm.
what we need to do, then we want to do it as best as we can with as little money from our pocket as we can, right?
So how do you do that? Like, let's talk through where you put your stop loss, and when you're scaling in, where do you decide I'm going to scale in here, and do you do it linear? Is there a linear sort of like, I'm going to only scale in at this fixed amount every single time, or are you dividing the positions up smaller to start off with, then bring the size in later? How do you work out which is the best way to do it?
There. Okay, so there is a spot where the trades generally, like, okay, so the stage one is obviously identify the trade, right? So there is this spot here where I started getting aggressive here, but let's talk about that in the context of where is that spot in the grand scheme of things. This is that cluster that we talked about on the monthly, like that. Okay, that's that little box I drew of cluster.
Yeah.
This is the daily chart. And as things came down and they started to turn back around, this is the spot where I'm like, if this starts to move from here, I want to be the largest size down there. I don't want to put the largest size anywhere on top. I want the largest to be down here, because the more I add on top, the more my average price will keep going higher and higher. So I always want the largest below, and then I'll add a little bit on top. Does that make sense?
That
So
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, so it almost think of it like a pyramid, right? The majority of the base is where all the weight is, and then it gets lesser and lesser as we go to the top. And that's the way you want to do it. Flip side for a sell.
And so are you like waiting for it to get to that lower point to get the bigger size on, or are you putting the smaller size on whilst it's up there, thinking, well, if it goes, it goes on, at least it got something on. And then,
Okay.
or are you just like, and then going, well, it's gone back down, so now I'm going to put more size on, which is my bigger position.
Okay, so this is the spot where it's the golden area, right? This circle is where the golden area is. Slight earlier to the golden area is where I start doing some size. Okay, I start doing some size prior to that as the starter position. This is the only time. But once I get to that original position that I want, this is the one I kept showing on the in my community. Let me just go back to that window here. If you can see the amount of arrows I have here, it's a lot more than when I had it in this early starter areas here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then I started getting very, very aggressive to a point where even my broker is like, well, I can't fill you in one single trade. I got to put you in multiple positions. So, and then the trade starts to launch from that moment onwards. We have a lot of our students got onto it as well. But this is exactly where my entry was. My original positions, I scaled out a little bit here, and then I went very aggressive around this area here.
Was that after the retest of the open, of the entry point?
Yes, that was a
Okay.
part where I was like, is this not the right moment? Am I going to get stopped out? What's going on? Because my stop is just below here at 08, 08
Yeah.
and a half. And then as price was testing down near my break-even spot, and then it starts to recover very aggressively, I became even more aggressive. And I'm like, okay, now we're done. We're holding on to this. And then every hiccups, as you can see on the 18th, on this day, every little hiccup there, at that point, it's like, I don't even care. I'm not scared of that. It's let it do its thing. Even if it pulls back a little bit, I'm just going to add more. Now,
Right.
that's a
And are
different
you
set of
not? You're not
mind.
moving. You're not moving your stop loss to break even at this point at all, are you? So you've,
Not
or are
yet,
you?
not until that next additional wave happens. And then
Right.
now I'm absolutely confirmed. I'm like, I can move my stop wherever I want, and it's never coming back.
Right. Okay. Okay. So can you pinpoint when you did move your stop? If you get the chart up again, and maybe show us exactly when
I will.
you
I will.
decided to move the stop.
I will. Here. Trade approaching 2 months ago. Trade approaching six figures. This is when I was reaching $91,000 at 111.58. I was already at break even at this stage. So let me see. It's generally when I see this secondary wave right here at 1110.20, when that wave comes in full aggression, that's when I'll
Yeah.
say it's time to move stops to break even.
Right. Okay. Hey folks, what a view behind me. I'm at Black Bull Markets headquarters here in Auckland, New Zealand. Speaking of views, you can get TradingView paid plans for free at Black Bull Markets, saving you up to $600 a year. That's right, get either the Essential, Plus or Premium plans absolutely free, and all you need to do is trade from one lot a month at Black Bull Markets. And you can also get a 100% deposit bonus for your first deposit up to $1,000. All you need to do is click the Trading Nut link in the description below. And what's the thinking behind that? Just so that, like, because I'm guessing you're still not taking partials. You're going to move stops to break even. Yeah, it makes sense. It's unlikely to come back and take you out. But if it did come back and take you out, would you, like, if for break even versus a loss? I mean, you haven't gained anything. But I suppose I'm just trying to get my head around the psychology as to why then did he move to break even and maybe not lock in some profit at a bit of a higher price?
Yeah. Okay. It's important to keep back in mind of, what kind of time frame are we dealing with? This is a monthly chart, and what we were looking at was a 4-hour chart, just getting ready to take off. We can't let a smaller time frame judge the nuances of how we're going to behave towards this mega large trade, right? So a mega large trade means there could be war in between, and even that is considered small. There
Right.
could be
Yeah,
corona
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
between, and
yeah,
even that's
yeah.
considered small. So when you have these mammoth trades coming your way, then the small things of unemployment and this and that, they don't carry much weight, but they do jitter. But you have to be strong enough to be like, and that's okay. That's
Mm.
expected. Markets don't go in one direction nonstop. That's expected. It's gonna have turbulence along the way.
And so, okay, right. So you're in this trade. You've decided you're not going to take any more partial profits. Oh, sorry. You did take another partial, didn't you?
I didn't take any partial up until this point. I only did it in that pre-stage, the early stage where I told you that
Right.
before the golden spot comes, I get in and out there a little bit, make some money along the way, so I have more capital to really push size.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So I was trying to work out what. I did see a video where you showed you actually took the partial profit. I think you live streamed it, and I was just thinking, was that further into the trade? But no, that was at an original piece to give you the size, which
Yeah.
is ingenious. And did you use all of that partial to take the next size position, or just some of it?
Okay. So all of that. Okay. So here's the thing about me is there are times where I see a trade and I have some hopes in the trade. That trade will get 2 lots, 3 lots, depending on the account size, but it'll take 2 or 3 lots. And then there's a trade that I do believe in it and I see everything. I've done my research. I will go out and get a bank loan if I need to for that. Like I
Right.
will sell the whole city if I have to ride that trade. You have to understand certain things. You need to develop your career to such an extent. Everybody should develop their career to a certain extent where when they look at a certain trade, they have to go every once in a while. That's the one. That's the one
Right.
I
Yeah.
need to be on. That's the one I'm all in. It's like pocket aces for people who are poker players. You
Right.
just have to go.
Yeah. And was it backed by any fundamental analysis or fundamentals that you sort of saw and thought, now this has given me mega confidence that this trade is going to be one of those trades?
No, I do very little fundamental analysis.
Okay.
Fundamental analysis, it doesn't have timing to it. All fundamental analysis is they can judge the general directions, but they can't time it.
Right.
Technical analysis can time, no direction, right? They can
Right.
time it, but there's no direction. They don't know which way.
Now, did any of your students actually take the entire trade with you to the very end?
Unfortunately, not, and that's the one part that makes me upset. But at the same time, I'm happy because they made the most amount of money on this trade. They were in.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are all my posts, but I want to see. Let me see if I can show you here. Um, we saw Andre earlier up there. He's one of my star students. Okay, Mariana, she's actually an employee at Urban Forex. She was able to ride that initial burst, but she got out right as the picture shows you. So
And
she's in.
what were the reasons? But why do you think your students got out when you were clearly not getting out?
um Risk appetite. Okay,
Right.
the risk appetite is there. Plus, maybe I might have scared them a little bit because a lot of my, especially my staff, their performance is what I judge them by, and they want their performance to
It's 11:30.
stay continuously on a rising pace to stay consistently going up rather than I was trying to hold on and then
Yeah.
I didn't do 20 more trades because I was just on this one trade for 3 months.
Yeah, yeah, okay, all right. So you've carried on. I mean, what were the identifiers for you to go right now? Now is the time to get out of this trade. It was 18R. You'd made money on the swap. It was a six-figure trade. What was the decision point? How do you work that out?
Yeah, so there was a technical level. The part that you referred to earlier, that in the video where you saw me live remove that trade, that was the part where I actually first took out 50%, I believe, on the trade. Let's find it. It was much later into. It was probably a month or so later into the game. Okay, here we go. A month ago, here I removed 50% today in the webinar at 113 price. So this is the weekly chart now. All of this I sat through. The initial burst, I'm in all the way. I sat through this for a month. And when that thing burst up, this was my original target that I had pre-marked in the sky at 113.75. That's where I wanted to exit. At 113 is where I removed half.
Right.
So it was all done. I started removing everything towards the last half of the move, last 20% of the move. Let's put it that way.
And how confident were you on that 113.745 or 745?
So here is that price of 113.745. It was approximately in this zone.
Right. So it did. So you could. I mean, that there in itself is like a psychological sort of conundrum. You had a great trade. You've made an absolute fortune, and the damn thing looks like it's gone almost twice as big from the exit. I mean, what are you thinking at that point? Like 2 months down the 2 days down the track of
Yeah.
exiting there, and this thing's like just gone ballistic.
So I'll be honest with you. So in the live webinars, I mentioned the trade's running at $160,000. 113.75 is a major resistance level that I'm seeing from the monthly, where I do want to cash out some.
Mm.
But I kept saying, this is 160 I'm getting off, but this thing has at least $250,000 in this thing. There's $250,000 on the table on this thing. Some went after it.
Right.
It. Unfortunately, there are some who just started a position at that time to go after it. That's fine too. They made some money as well, but I wouldn't recommend that. But it did go up to $250,000.
Because it was that near all-time highs of CAD JPY.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of unknown territory at that point, and I suppose you've taken the conservative option versus the how high could it go? We don't really know. So
Yeah. So when it comes to all-time highs, it's not necessarily it's all-time highs for the last several years, but it's not all-time highs in history. Sorry,
Yeah.
maybe I should clarify that. I'll show you here on the screen here, and you can see this purple line is where I got out. But if you go back, if I'm going, this is 2012, right? And now in 2007, there are some highs there.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, yeah. I don't think I've gone back that far on the CAD
Yeah.
JPY.
So I do refer to it as all-time high because we're not really playing with resistance from 2007 necessarily, but there are areas in this area, as you can see, is this particular cluster here is where like I'm going to get some resistance there. I got to get out.
Yeah.
So I took off my money there, but I do see this thing still going up. In fact, I'm still in the trade. That trade I got out, but I got back in.
You got back in. Now, I see it did have a big, massive dip after it hit that high point. When did you decide to get back in? Should we dive into that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Like a bonus trade for us.
Absolutely. Let me get into this here. Let me find out.
Oh, and before you do, I mean, did you just let it hit a take profit level, or did you manually exit the trade before the level, or I mean, how did
Manually
you work it out?
exited at 113 for 50%, and then 113.75 take profit.
Right. Okay. Okay. So you
Yeah,
did
like
it.
I
Yeah.
always set the take profit ahead of times. You have to know your exits before you even enter a trade. Otherwise, you know, it's not really a
And
trade.
you didn't trail the stop it anymore after the break even level.
I did, but from a very far distance to a point where it doesn't even matter to discuss
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's if it would be like 150, 200 pips away swings.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
it's
Cool.
like it's
All
not going
right.
to
So
even go there. Yeah.
yeah. So you got back in just recently. How did that all come about?
So this is where I got back in approximately 25 days ago. I think this should say May, not March. Sorry about that. Um, so went after CAD yen again. I saw this announcement. Japan used 59 billion to prop up the yen, but consumers may still cut back. I saw this on Financial Times, and I was like, I know this is going to happen. The monthly isn't going to stop. And when I saw that dip happen, and that dip was caused because of that Japan pumping in money to save its economy, that's when I saw this massive boom going down. I'm like, come on, turn, 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 and then I started going after it very aggressively. I'm like, I'm gonna
Right.
catch this turn. So I caught the first turn, made some money off of that, and now I'm here again from 11406 price now. So I did a initial move here, and then now I'm the move that's running right now is at 11406 is where I've started. I think I can share my cell phone screen sharing if that's okay with you.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm currently running on this CAD yen right now. It is you can see the average price here. I got in as 11406 price. Stops are at break even at this time. Currently running at 50,000 for 96 standard lots on this particular one. So I'm going after it again, and this time I'm looking at it as there's another 300, $400,000 available on this trade. So this is a juggernaut of a trade. I'm not joking about
Yeah.
that. This is a massive,
And
massive.
is that just from the monthly still, because the monthly set up like it did
Yep.
its first push, it's come back, it's you got another opportunity to go again. That's crazy. And can I ask the question as to why CAD JPY versus the other JPY pairs?
Okay, so there is a element that we do called window shopping. What that basically means is once you get a grip of, think of yourself as a lion, and you're in the savannah, and then you see all the herd running across. So that's the herd you want to attack, but you got to now pick the right one to make sure you get the most out of it. Right? You
Yeah.
can't take on all of them. If you take on all of them, that's not going to work. You're going to have
Yeah.
to go after one that you can feel you're going to get the most value out of. And it's something like that. I hate to use a hunting analogy like that, but
Yeah.
you get the idea.
Yeah. And I mean, so this one obviously looked like the most appealing for you from whatever reason versus the others. I mean, was there anything you can share with us, like as to why this pair was the one that you thought, okay, well, look, out of all the others, this one beats them out because of
Sure,
whatever
sure.
reason?
I can give a very simplistic explanation on this if that's all right. So at that time, if you take a look at where this CAD yen was, here's just a very simplistic approach. Okay, first things first is you have to notice the movement of the flow up. Okay, USD yen looks very powerful compared to the strength of CAD yen. All right, that's one thing being aware of. The second thing being aware of is how's the pullback coming in? Pullback comes in hot, pullback comes in hot. Both of them are just as aggressive.
Hmm.
Recovery is slower on USD yen, recovery is faster on CAD yen. Then the hold or the bounce is minimal on CAD yen, and the hold and the bounce is a lot more aggressive on USD yen. This tells me the CAD yen's recovery is a lot stronger, is a lot more efficient. Now, another contender was Aussie yen. Okay, Aussie yen, the rise was very slow. Hence, even though it looked like the bounce was holding better, but the rise was very slow. I didn't know if the larger players still wanted to go after this as much as they really desperately wanted these two, the CAD yen and USD yen. So putting all that information together and then putting together the information about the interest rates that we're going to get on top of that, I had to put two and two together and saying, where's all the money going to flow? And we want that one.
Now that there, folks, is just ingenious. I actually love that. That's brilliant. That is so good, because I'm sort of looking at them myself, going, they kind of look the same, but when you look at the detail, the devil is in that detail. They aren't the same. So that's fantastic for sharing that. That's absolute gold. If anyone's going to take anything away, I think that little snippet there is something you should all probably feed into your own trading somehow, way, shape, or form. Now, is there anything else that I haven't asked you today that I think that you're desperate to share with the folks?
Yeah, actually, so one of the things, how we talked about in the beginning, I'm gonna plug away, okay? I was like, one of the things that we talked about in the beginning is, well, how do you know where to put your focus on, right? So as much as I'm busy. Right after this meeting, I'm actually going out to another meeting that I have. I buy veterinary clinics and hospitals here in Dubai as well. So I run that side of the separate side of the business as well. But
yeah,
it doesn't mean I can't trade. I have to be on top of my trades. I need to be knowing what's happening in the markets all the time, but I can't watch it all the time, unfortunately. So then I had my team develop something called Market Beats. Now it's available on the App Store. If I can just show you a quick preview here. So this is how it looks on top. Is that visible?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is Market Beats. This is for the Mac app. It's also available on iOS. So what this does is basically it gives you an update on when something was hot. Now, we have our own machine learning proprietary information gone into this, where I've told the team, this is what I like, this is what I want, this is what I want to see. And once these conditions comes up, I want to know. And when these things come up, I drop everything and I put my focus on it. So these things basically tell me where the highest activity is. Like Aussie, Swiss franc on the 5-minute charts tells me that's where it's hot. Okay, and that's where I want to put my focus on. Now, for our iOS side of things, I made them make something for me which is a lot more user friendly. Let's put it that way. All right, so here's Market Beats right here. As you can see, I'm going to open this up. Now, this is more on the cute side. We made it like whenever there's an activity, a bear falls out of the sky and it tells you what's hot. So as we saw, Aussie was hot 6 hours ago. It'll give you that update. Whenever there's a new bear that comes out, you can switch through the time frames on the bottom. It'll tell you what's been hot, how long ago has this been going on, and you can even select the log on top to see the historical drops of the bears as well. So the team, we have this inside joke where they call me number one brown bear. It's something that we use as my nickname. So they've been using bears as they drop from the sky as there's new activity in the market. So when I'm on the go, just for very quick visual appeal and reference, I look at this and I know in my head, Euro is where I need to put my focus on today. If I see this and I see Euro, I will not look at Aussie. I will not look at Swiss. I will not waste my time with New Zealand. I just don't care about those things. I'm going to waste money if I go after those things. I want to go where the action is, because I know the easiest money is made where the action is.
Right.
So we've developed this thing in such a way to go after the action and let us know this is where you want to put your focus on.
So, hey, look,
Yeah.
Navin, it's been absolute pleasure having you back on the show. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for sharing the trade as well. What an epic trade, and I'll look out to see how you're getting on with this current setup. Does the second trade play out? Maybe you can flick me a little thing by the time this goes live. It might be, it might have been come to its fruition and finished. But yeah, thank you very much once again. And do you want to just let people know how they can get hold of you?
Yeah, sure. So we're on YouTube at Urban Forex, Twitter as well. Email is Navin at urbanforex.com if you want to reach out to me personally. I'm always looking forward to meeting people. And if you guys are in Dubai, I'm either in DIFC or in the Sheraton Grand Hotel on Sheikh Zayed Road. These are the two spots I'm always in. So I'm happy to meet you guys if you guys are in Dubai as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, look, folks, what we'll do is we'll hook up one of the old episodes down below the video here. If you do want to go and check that out and hear how Navin's featured on the show before, go and check that out after this. But for now, go and check out one of these videos up here.